for Esper Dragons. Although Robbie coming in, and Robbie here is up a game.
Yeah, so we go to the sideboards. What you should expect is Kian die to board in cards like Thoughtseize, Duress, and copy of like Nissa Worldwaker, pretty good here as well. As we start the game, Kian's on the play and starts with a Temple of Silence. Robbie starting with a Dismal Backwater, he'll go to 21. And to the same degree, Robbie will, I imagine, have morphed into more of a control deck than you'd normally expect. Cards like Perilous Vault being boarded in. He does have 2 copies of Self-Inflicted Wound. That's a perfect card for the matchup.
Part of where Obzon Aggro gets his edge is its threats are just pretty hard to kill. So getting access to things like Perilous Vault, which can just get rid of everything, no questions asked. Self-Inflicted Wound, which is a good answer to things like Rakshasa Death Dealer, even if the game drags out a little bit. Very important for Robbie to have access to post-board.
So Kian with a turn 2 Fleecemane Lion that will sneak under a possible Silumgar's Scorn. Question is if Robbie has a Self-Inflicted Wound or a Bile Blight for it. Plays an island, and it is Self-Inflicted Wound. The cat will punch itself, and Kian goes down to 17.
Robbie is just a huge favorite in these kind of games if he can get out of the first couple turns relatively unscathed. So Self-Inflicted Wound, you see Foul Tongue Invocation that can handle the next threat.
Yeah.
And that's kind of where Robbie wants to be in the matchup. Just keep the board clean over the first couple turns.
Yeah, that Robbie was able to trade a 2-mana spell with Kian's 2-mana spell is really a victory for the Esper player. And it was a Temple for Kian and no other plays, no Death Dealer or follow-up Fleecemane Lion. So they're just going to trade land drops and say go. And this is a great spot for the control deck.
And Robbie's hand is just flush with removal right now. I mean, Kian missing on the 3rd turn there and giving Robbie a turn off. It's so bad with the amount of removal Robbie has access to.
You see here, Kian has his line is just to keep jamming threats and hope that Robbie misses a step on removing them, but that's going to be hard to do. It's Siege Rhino. Robbie lets that resolve, then uses Foul Tongue Invocation, revealing Ojutai, and takes care of it. Actually had his choice of removal there. He could have gone with Hero's Downfall as well. Looks like he has multiple Ojutais in hand.
He also has to respect the possibility of Planeswalkers. Often Obzon Aggro has cards like Ajani and Nissa Worldwaker, so the Hero's Downfall, that's the premium removal spell.
This is an interesting line for Robbie. So he didn't have a 4th land in hand. He had a lot of 3-mana removal, and he had the choice between anticipating here to find a land and just holding up, just skipping his land drop and holding up removal. And he went with the Anticipate line to accelerate in lands. But it could put him behind on tempo, depending on what he finds. Haven of the Spirit Dragon, the play there. And here's another Siege Rhino from Obzon Aggro.
So this was a bit of the risk with Robbie's play here, is now he's a little bit behind the curve in terms of the threat answer balancing act that was going on with the first couple turns. Now he has to react on this turn, and then if Kian has a follow-up threat, maybe Robbie actually starts taking some points of damage.
What I do like is by getting more cards in the graveyard, Robbie is building his way toward getting a turn where he can do 2 things, say Silumgar's Scorn and a Dig Through Time. Now that's still a lot of turns off and a lot of mana colors off, but he's building toward that late game.
And Robbie might have felt when he anticipated there that he has enough of a life total, enough removal to play with, that he'd rather just make his land drops here. He can afford to maybe take 1 or 2 hits off some threats or let something resolve.
Yeah, and there was always the risk that if he sat back on removal, that Kian would just Thoughtseize him and push the Rhino through anyway. And you see the Thoughtseize is the play. And I believe it's interesting. A lot of times you want to counter the Thoughtseize, but if he counters it, the issue is that Kian gets to make a 2nd threat. I don't think Robbie can afford to fall 2 threats behind. He's going to have to let Thoughtseize resolve.
Well, he has this turn covered in a number of respects. You see Silumgar's Scorn, Hero's Downfall, and Foul Tongue Invocation. So he wants to leave the option of counterspelling or Hero's Downfalling this turn. If he fights over the Thoughtseize and he's taking a hit from Siege Rhino, and if Kian has a follow-up play, then he's very far behind. So
yeah, and a really interesting thing with this Thoughtseize, if Kian takes a kill spell, then he's put enough cards in the graveyard that Robbie can end step dig Through Time.
Exactly.
And that may force Kian to take Dig Through Time, but that's dangerous. I mean, if there was only one Ojutai, I think we'd see Kian take Ojutai.
Because it essentially shuts off Silumgar's Scorn as well. So that would be juicy, but with 2 dragons in the hand, I don't think Kian can touch it unless he has a 2nd copy of Thoughtseize. This is a really tough hand for Kian to see because he can't really break up the tempo of this. You can't really break up the tempo of this turn. And there's a lot of long-term threats in that hand as well.
And he'll go with Hero's Downfall. It's the most universal answer here. And you see Kian, a 3rd Rhino in hand and a Nissa Worldwaker in hand. I think he's trying to clear the way toward Nissa Worldwaker is what it looks like.
Nissa is the big prize here. That's a card that even if Robbie is able to get some of his action going, can win a long game. So Kian trying to do his best to get the removal or counter spells out of Robbie's hand there, be able to land Nissa and take over from there.
And still a really confident play from Robbie. So Kian swung with Siege Rhino. Robbie could have used the Foul Tongue Invocation to not take 4. Instead, he takes the hit just so he can leave up a counter spell and ends up countering another Siege Rhino.
And that's great news for Kian, too, because that was the Slumgar Scorn he got out of that hand, which means Nissa may be clear to go.
Yeah, Robbie using the Scorn instead of using Foul Tongue Invocation there. And maybe Robbie will just switch modes. And I think that's what's going to happen. He draws Flooded Strand, he's going to play it, and just put an Ojutai into play. And this is the scary part about Esper. He's decided he's not on the control plan anymore. Now he's the aggressor.
Yeah, and we saw Robbie take this line of play when we've had it on camera before, where the board looks a little shaky. Maybe he can go ahead and sit on the defenses for a little bit longer. Maybe he's better started tapping out for Dragon Lord Ojutai. He's aired on the side of tapping out for Dragon Lord Ojutai. Just trying to get, take one turn off, take his hits, and then untap in a very dominating position.
The hit he's going to take is going to be big, though. It's going to be Siege Rhino plus a 4/4 from Nissa. So he'll definitely be behind, but he does have cards like Foul Tongue Invocation in his hand that gain life, or get rid of threats. Maybe Robbie can get through this.
He's also approaching a very cheap dig-through time as well. The game's gone on for a while. He's going to have 6 cards in his graveyard very easily, and that might be able to find him the answers he needs.
Yeah, Dragon Lord Ojutai can kill off the Nissa. He can Foul Tongue away an Elemental. This is actually a fine spot for Robbie. You see here from Kian, 5 mana. That's his last card. It's Nissa Worldwaker. He's going to animate a land. Yeah, he does not want to animate that fetch land he just played. Then it would not be able to attack. So he swings for 8. That'll put Robbie down to 6.
But this is still not the end of the world here for Robbie. He has the ability to attack Nissa. We know he has Foul Tongue Invocation. That's an answer to 1 threat.
Yeah, and 4 life, so it's kind of an answer to both threats for a turn. Draws another Ojutai.
And with the 5 mana he has available, that gives him access to Foul Tongue Invocation and casting Dig Through Time.
Great line for him. And I believe he's going to want to dig this turn in case he hits a land.
Yeah. I mean, he is a little jammed up on mana. There's also just more information to be had by digging up front.
Ojutai takes down Nissa. Kian, no cards in hand, 2 threats in play. He's got Robbie to 6, but it looks like Robbie will get to kill both the cards.
And even if Kian draws something like Downfall right now, it's not really that great because Robbie has access to backup copies of Dragon Lord Ojutai. And a lot of his threat cards are getting worse and worse with Robbie. You know, he's going to start connecting with Dragon Lord Ojutai, drawing more cards. He's going to be able to dig for some answers here.
So Robbie Foul Tongues away the Elemental, goes up to 10. That 4 life so pivotal here. Kian's going to fetch during his upkeep, just wants to get any land out of his deck that he can. And remember, Kian knows about the dig through time, so he knows that's coming. All the dig needs to find is really 1 kill spell. And that to take care of the Rhino. This draw from Kian is really important. If he draws a land here, it feels like the dig through time, the next Ojutai hit will lock him out.
Yeah.
Something like, you know, any threat here keeps Kian alive. Puts Robbie down to 6. We'll see what the draw was. Rakshasa Death Dealer, that's a good one.
Yeah, that's a big one. I mean, it's one of his better cheap threats at this stage.
Here's dig through time.
Legacy Challenge. Please report to the stage. Again, signed up for the Legacy Challenge. Please report to the stage.
7 cards for Robbie. He's just looking for kill spells. Ojutai can take care of the rest. And sometimes, this is the interesting part about Vesper, your digs do miss more often than you'd care for them to. You see Silumgar Scorn dig through time, and it looks like a bucket of lands.
But dig in concert with Dragon Lord Ojutai means, yeah, you can still miss, but you're just getting a ton of looks at the cards you're looking for.
He is going to get more looks.
And post-board, Robbie's deck is so redundant with removal spells when he picks up cards like Self-Inflicted Wound and additional removal spells like Bile-Blight as well, so he gets a lot of cracks in the cards he's looking for.
Yeah. You see this dig through time not as dominant as he wants it to be. It looks like he's going to take Caves of Koilos, Silumgar Scorn off it. So 2 fine cards, but, you know, not the lights out that he would have wanted it to be.
No.
2 heroes downfalls there, and we'd have a different story. Draws for turn. He doesn't have a way yet to deal with the Death Dealer, and he's at a precarious 6 life. Look at his hand. Scorn, Ojutai, land. That's not going to work right now. He's going to need some extra cards of Ojutai to survive.
But if you're in a position where you have to block with Dragon Lord Ojutai, then you just need to be attacking instead. He needs to give himself an opportunity to find the card in question.
So here's a swing. Puts Kian down to 15. Ojutai will give him a look at 3 more cards. Can he find something that keeps him alive? Self-inflicted wound is one of the top ones. Bile Blight as well. But none of those actually save him here because he can't get the Death Dealer off the board.
I mean, his hands just counterspells lands, 1 removal spell, which is an Edict. And I think if Kian just untaps and goes for it, that's it.
Yeah, so maybe, so he has to represent a board where Kian can't just go for it, but...
Another line of play, if he had 1 more mana, he could play Self-Inflicted Wound and play Dragon Lord Ojutai to block, but he's short on that. So yeah, now he just needs to cast Dragon Lord Ojutai to block the Death Dealer next turn and hope he can find another Edict. This is painful, but this is all Robbie can do.
Yeah, so his choice there is he could play Ojutai to block, or he could wound away the Rhino and kind of dare Kian to go for it.
The problem is Kian's going to go for it. He has no hand, and the game's getting away from him. He's just going to go for it.
Yeah. I think if Robbie had a life gain land to put himself to 7, then Kian might not, because he'd have to tap out to make it lethal. But you're right, and here's a swing. He blocks Death Dealer, goes to 2. It's a chump block from the Dragon Lord, draws a land. That's not going to work.
Well, he gets the same play, which is he can cast Self-Inflicted Wound and play Dragon Lord Ojutai to chump block again, and then hope to draw an Edict next turn. This is excruciating if you're Robbie. You're forced to be chump blocking with Dragon Lord Ojutai over and over again. But
well, and actually, even if he draws untapped land next turn, he can get back. No, he's a little short. I was going to say he could get back Ojutai and chump block a 3rd time. And no, Self-Inflicted Wound will take care of the Rhino. Deal 2 to Kian, and here's 5 mana. Here's a Dragon Lord. It's a chump blocker. And he'll pass. His remaining 2 cards are Polluted Delta, Silumgar's Scorn. He'd need Foul Tongue Invocation and for Kian to not have another creature here. No creature. That part is successful. And he draws Foul Tongue Invocation for the turn. That is huge for Robbie.
I mean, this is a misstep here potentially from Robbie. I think he needs to recur the Dragon Lord Ojutai first to be able to gain the 4 life. I don't know if he has another dragon in hand.
I think he's responding to his own spell. He slammed it because he was excited about it, but he is maintaining priority to recur, which does work. Now, I do want to go back to the dig through time from Robbie Calhoun. So he did draw the one out, the outer here with the Foul Tongue Invocation, but he did take a Silumgar's Scorn off a dig through time that he has been unable to use, where he had an option to take a second dig. I think if he takes the second dig here, then he's, this turn becomes a lot easier. He wouldn't have had to top deck the Foul Tongue.
I mean, I don't know if he was anticipating exactly this line of events, though. I mean, this got a lot worse because of the Death Dealer and being forced to chump block a bunch. As it stands now, this Silumgar's Scorn is going to be great because he has the ability to get back Dragon Lord Ojutai, cast Foul Tongue Invocation.
Have a hard counter.
Have a hard counter in hand, and maybe take over the game from there. Goes up to 5. He'll have a bit of a cushion to play with, too.
I mean, it seems great. He'll be at 5 life. He'll have a clean board. He'll have a hard counter spell, and he'll have an Ojutai. Staying alive at 1 life, it looks like he will get there. Here's Foul Tongue, takes care of Death Dealer. Robbie up to 5. Yeah, last card, Silumgar's Scorn. And the Ojutai.
So, I mean, Robbie had to make some tough plays here and chump block with his Dragon Lord Ojutai to give himself the breathing space to find the Edict, but he has, and now he looks to be in pretty good shape. Kian still got some draw steps at it, but with Robbie at 5 and a hard counter in hand, it's going to be tough.
And the thing is that Kian knows, well, he doesn't know about the counterspell. He'll go with Duress. Doesn't really matter whether Robbie counters or not. Yeah, they'll trade with Silumgar's Scorn both ways.
Magic players are now taking signups for today's 3 o'clock.
And what is the last card from Kian? It's Anafenza the Foremost. So as a 4/4, not a 5/5. See, Robbie's going to play Ojutai. The Anafenza is not lethal. It's real close.
Now Robbie gets the decision again next turn to block or not. I think you got to take the hit.
I agree. It's
13-5, I think. Excuse me, 13-4. Now he is compelled to block.
Oh, he had to.
Right, his only white source of mana was Quetzalcoatlus because he lost the Haven earlier.
Wow. So he has to block. Because previously he was using the Haven for white mana, so that's why he wasn't painting, but he had to sack it. Wow. All right, so yeah, Dragon Lord Ojutai trades with Anafenza, and I think we have a game again.
Yeah, I mean, you know, Robbie's obviously got some huge draws, but every threat card Kian finds from this spot's going to be very powerful.
Now, if Robbie's at 5, you think he takes the hit there and goes to 1?
Yeah, I think he does.
All right, Warden of the first tree. Pretty much every threat is lethal right now. Robbie's just going to have to keep answering them. What a game of turns here.
I mean, Robbie got some card advantage here with you know, his Dragon Lord Ojutai and the Dig Through Time, but he also lost a lot of card advantage because he drew all those redundant Dragon Lord Ojutais that he wasn't able to do anything with.
Bioblade takes care of Warden of the first tree. Now both players are top decking. Kian needs a threat. Robbie needs a card draw spell. Here's an answer for him. He draws a copy of Perilous Vault. That'll take care of Kian's next threat. Obzon Charm from Kian. That's a good one, actually.
Yep.
He's going to draw 2, lose 2. He'll go to 10.
He needs multiple threats at this point to be able to push through the Perilous Vault.
Draws Llanowar Wastes and Thoughtseize. That one's not going to be where he wants to be. Thoughtseize he still might be able to convert on.
I think that he needs to wait until he draws a threat card and then pairs it in one turn.
Land from Robbie. He'll scry to the bottom. Draw. That's another Obzon Charm from Kian. That's great. Down to 8. He's going to Thoughtseize first, actually. Go down to 8 here.
Yeah, I would say that Obzon Charm counts as a threat card in this instance.
It's anything you don't want to be countered. I mean, there's a chance that he doesn't think it will be countered because of Robbie's been playing lands every turn and scrying to the bottom, so it seems unlikely that Robbie's hit a counter spell, but even so, I mean, the Thoughtseize just doesn't have much mileage.
Right.
Here's Warden of the first tree from Kian. And a land. That should be enough to get Perilous Vaults activated unless Robbie finds another answer. His draw from the turn, it looks like a land. So this is lethal. Now he may just wait and force Kian to spend tons of mana.
Might as well.
Yeah. He's at 4 life, so Kian would have to spend 2 this turn, then 10 next turn to make this lethal. So you get him to spend all 10 mana, and then you crack the Perilous Vault.
Yep.
And a scry from Robbie, and I believe he kept his last copy of Dragon Lord Ojutai on top.
It looked to be a creature.
So Warden is a 3/3, but it is not a spirit yet.
And there's Fleecemane Lion, which is actually kind of an awkward draw here. Because I'm pretty sure Kian would like to play and monsters in the same turn, but he would also like to threaten lethal this turn to force the Perilous Vault.
Well, yeah, so he's going to go ahead and up Warden. And as long as, oh wow, so because he had to take 1 off Mana Confluence here, the Ojutai will be lethal. So he's going to make this a lethal Warden. That'll get the Perilous Vault. If Kian was at 6, he could respond to Ojutai with Lion Monstrosity it, and then Robbie wouldn't be able to attack. But with Kian at 5, that's not true anymore.
Yeah, all those little chip shots from Self-Inflicted Wound, Mana Confluence, they all add up.
And no Urborg on either side, so Mana Confluence did have to come into play there. And actually, the dragon wasn't Ojutai, it's Silumgar. Just a 3/5 death touch here, so not a lethal attacker.
But it is something capable of blocking Fleecemane Lion in the event that Robbie doesn't find an answer card for it.
So here's Fleecemane Lion. Thoughtseize is the card in Kian's hand. Certainly can't cast that one in the face of a 3-power creature, but the Lion will be hexproof and indestructible. Draw from Robbie.
And now it's an issue of who can answer whose threats first.
Temple here from Robbie. He'll scry. It's on the top.
I believe that was Self-Inflicted Wound, which should be good.
That should be lethal.
Even Kian draws a threat here.
Draw from Kian. He one-ups him. It's Obzon Charm, and we are heading to game 3. Robbie had the game-winning card on top of his deck. Kian hits one first.
Yeah, some timely draws there. I mean, you know, the Obzon Charms there were a big help. The Death Dealer there when it looked like Kian was about to get locked out of the game by Dragon Lord Ojutai. You know, it looked like Robbie, I think the last card there was Self-Inflicted Wound. I think he had to kill if he could get to next turn, but...
Yeah, it was 2 from the wound, 3 from the dragon. It was exactly enough to get him down to 0. And just so many inches there. We had, you know, turns where a Pain Land would force a chump block. Just lots of turns to the game.
That's what's really cool about Esper Dragons and watching the deck in action, is your light total does matter. Now, for Kian's side of the table, his Thoughtseizes are good, and, you know, he needs to be aggressive in how he spends his mana, even if he has to take damage to do so. But it is not a revelation deck. Your life total does matter. They're hitting you in chunks of 5. And post-board, Robbie gets access to self-inflicted wound, which is another couple pieces of damage there. And, it just feels like that's a control deck versus a beatdown deck. And then you look up, and Kian's at 5, and his life total is super relevant.
Well, and a lot of times you didn't even feel like Robbie was a control deck at the end. I mean, we're not sitting there and saying, boy, as soon as Robbie hits a card draw and a counter spell, he's going to win. We're saying, boy, once Robbie hits an Ojutai, he's going to win.
Yeah, he's looking for that last threat to finally wrap it up there. And was one turn behind being able to do it in time there.
You feel like the Esper Dragons deck, it doesn't generate enough card advantage to just lock your opponent out of the game unless it has an Ojutai going. But once it has an Ojutai going, that's not the game plan anyway.
Right.
Dig Through Time's great. It's a 2-for-1, but they only have 4 of them. As we saw there, sometimes it draws you Caves of Koilos and a counterspell.
Robbie had a bunch of turns there in the middle of that game where he could have buried Kian with another removal spell, and had to spend turns chump blocking with Dragon Lord Ojutai, which really cut out some of the card advantage that he had been building up. Also meant when he was able to stabilize the game, he no longer had a Dragon Lord Ojutai to finish the game off with. He just had to sit there and wait. And Esper Dragons is not great at playing that sort of game.
You see both players just quick shuffle, present, cut. They're speeding into game 3. Neither of them wants a draw, especially for someone like Kian Dyer, who already has a draw to his name. Starts out Dismal Backwater on Robbie's side. It's a Temple on Kian's. Turn 2, it's just going to be a land and a go from Kian. No Bioblade mana up, but perhaps Silumgar Scorn, perhaps Anticipate. Thoughtseize will be the play from Kian. He does that before playing a land. Robbie may just scorn that, not want to give away any information.
Right. If he feels it's going to be taken anyway, might as well get it out of the way. Not reveal the hand.
Looking at Robbie's hand, he has a Temple, a Crux of Fate, and a Dig Through Time. I believe just a supplementing a Grip of Lands, which, to be honest, is a fine hand in this matchup.
Yeah.
Crux of Fate, not too many sweepers in the Esper Dragons deck, but it can be pretty strong here. Oftentimes it'll be a 1-for-1. The creatures from Obs on aggro are so good at just standing alone.
So that was an odd sequence there from Kian. If he was going to play a land that came into play tapped, I'm fine firing off the Thoughtseize there. But if he's going to play Caves of Koilos anyway, he probably should have played it ahead of time, because it's possible Robbie does not have Silumgar Scorn or doesn't have a dragon to pair with it, and then you might leave it with a Force Spike and be able to resolve your Thoughtseize, getting some valuable information and taking a more important card.
As it turns out, it just would have made Robbie reveal Ojutai. It looks like he had an Ojutai waiting in hand. But you're absolutely right. You could have blanked the Silumgar Scorn. And that's the aggressive game plan Robbie wants to be on here, is just, once again, what Esper Dragons does is controls the game up until 5 lands, slams Ojutai, and then starts casting one-sided Wraths like Crux of Fate and counterspells to protect Ojutai. Just, this entire strategy would not be possible without Ojutai. Rakshasa Death Dealer is the play from Kian.
Looks like Kian trying to play a little bit off curve here, not wanting to run into another Force Spike.
Draw from Robbie's a good one, though. That's a copy of Hero's Downfall, and he's going to go ahead and take an opportunity to get Death Dealer before Kian has the mana up. So the board is clean as we go back to Kian's 4th turn. And you see Robbie, front of his hand is a 5th land that's untapped and an Ojutai. Can't imagine he's making a different play.
So far, so good. I mean, he's answered the first couple cards he's had to answer here, and if he gets to have Dragon Lord Ojutai in play, facing down Anafenza, maybe one other threat card, not a lock by any stretch, but paired with Crux of Fate, that's a great position to be in.
Anafenza from Kian, Ojutai from Robbie. And if you want to go historically, the battle between the Dragon Lords and the Khans, there's a reason we ended up in Dragons of Tarkir. It's because in this matchup, the Dragon ends up being better than the Khan.
Yeah, nice when the real world and the flavor just
converge into this, so nicely.
This perfect story here.
So the swing from Anafenza will put Robbie down to 16. He'll play a Temple, scry 1 to the bottom. You look at his hand, he does have Obs on Charm at the ready to try to remove Dragonlord Ojutai if Robbie goes for the attack.
And it's so much better than casting another threat here, because Crux of Fate probably would have buried Kian otherwise.
Yeah, and this is the dangerous part when you're on the Obs on side, is that the Dragonlord Ojutai has been, it's functioning like a triple Stone Rain right now.
Yeah, Kian just has to keep his man up. Now, it's actually good news for Kian that that's the case, because otherwise he'd be deploying more thrusts and potentially losing the game to Crux of Fate. But it is awkward for him having to leave up all this mana to fight an attack that may never come.
And here's the squeeze. If Kian didn't have Anafenza, he would really be in a tough spot. The problem which he has is that if he taps mana to play threats, then Ojutai is going to hit him, and that's going to make him lose. However, if he just sits around forever, then Robbie's going to start casting Dig Through Times.
And Robbie doing this, I'm sure he knows that Downfall or Obs on Charm is probably lurking in Kian's hand. He's going to take a look at these cards. If he finds Silumgar Scorn, he'll offer an attack, and if he doesn't, he can just hang back.
Finds a Hero's Downfall, it looks like. I don't think he found the Scorn. And another card. He's passing on Dig Through Time, which makes you think he found two business spells. As Dig Through Time and Ojutai work pretty well together. And yeah, Thought Seize was the other card he kept.
Thought Seize makes a lot of sense here because if Kian's on exactly one removal spell, you get to strip it and start attacking.
So here's the Thought Seize. It's going to put Robbie down to 13. Yeah, Kian has Tasigur, Obzon Charm. Looks like Sandstep Citadel. I don't think he has a second kill spell. The question is if he wants to draw 2 in response. He's going to say no. So it's 2 lands, Obzon Charm, Tasigur.
I mean, this seems pretty straightforward to me here. You just take the Obzon Charm out of the hand.
Clock him.
Clock him. Force him to play Tasigur next turn, most likely. Crux of Fate's a disaster at that point, and you're in a great position.
So he can do that. Now this will be big pressure. Can Kian top deck a kill spell for Ojutai? That's what he'll need to do to not get out from under, the pressure of this Dragon Lord.
Yeah.
So here's Ojutai. It hits. Kian down to 14. Top 3 cards. Looks like a Thought Seize and some lands. Maybe another Crux of Fate there, actually. I believe he has picked up a second copy of the Sweeper.
I believe he took Haven of the Spirit Dragon there.
So the draw for Kian was not a removal spell. It was a Siege Rhino. And in the situation that Robbie didn't have the Crux, that would be very strong. He's going to make Tasigur and leave up 4. He exiled his whole yard to do that. I think ideally he would have liked to have left Obzon Charm in there.
Yeah, that's the card he wants, but he wants to be able to activate Tasigur, and he just didn't have enough resources to do it any other way.
Yep, so he swings Robbie down to 9. Ojutai will swing. That'll put Kian down to 9. Looking for more cards. Dig Through Time, some lands. He'll take the Dig Through Time, sure. And can't imagine he's doing much other than Crux of Fate. Remember, this isn't a control deck. He's just racing.
Yeah, I mean, he's got Kian down to 9. I mean, right now he is winning this race.
Haven of the Spirit Dragon will be played. Crux of Fate takes, and a Tasigur activation. Mills, Sandstep Citadel gets nothing.
Very good news for Robbie.
And can Kian top deck a kill spell for Ojutai? He needs to do it here. It's another Siege Rhino.
I mean, chaining together some Siege Rhinos here is not bad. If Robbie's on a pure damage race plan here, and Robbie doesn't draw much action for a couple turns, this is a way to steal the game.
Kian up to 12, Robbie down to 6. Plays a Sandstep Citadel. His last card is Siege Rhino. Will Kian keep attacking? He does have Hero's Downfall and Dig Through Time in hand, so he's not in pressure of dying right now. Yeah, he'll make the attack. Kian to 7. Here's another Anticipate off Ojutai. Foul Tongue Invocation among the 3 cards, and Robbie, that's just what he wants. We'll put it right in.
That or Self-Inflicted Wound. He wants one of those edicts that swings the damage race a little bit. Foul Tongue Invocation probably the better of the 2 right now.
See here, Temple from Robbie. He'll scry. Keeps on top. And you see he slows down the pace. He knows he's coming. He's closing in. Downfall, Dig Through Time, and Foul Tongue Invocation all available here. Here's a swing with Siege Rhino. Foul Tongue will make him sacrifice it. Robbie up to 10. Another Siege Rhino from Kian. Was hoping the 2 Rhinos would be good enough, but once Ojutai starts connecting, it is so hard to beat this deck.
You can still cross your fingers and hope. It's not like he gets to look at his whole deck, but the odds that he just misses turn after turn for ways to answer this sort of stuff, it's very, very low.
Kian up to 10, Robbie down to 7. Kian's going to go ahead and cast Dig Through Time on end step.
It's more of a selection deck than a pure card advantage deck, but it works all the same at this point.
Well, the strength of Dig Through Time means it's not just a control card. It actually, as we've seen in a lot of matchups, some of these still tie decks, it functions very well in mid-range strategies. The card selection is really powerful there, and I think that's what we're doing in the deck.
And I believe with Robbie finding Slumgar's Scorn here, that's the lock.
It's going to close it out. Dragon Lord Ojutai puts Kian down to 5. That's going to be a lethal on the next swing. You see him finding a second copy of Silumgar's Scorn, Self-Inflicted Wound, with 2 hard counters and a Foul Tongue Invocation in hand. You don't see how one card can save him. He'll swing. Here's the Edict. Robbie up to 11. The next swing is lethal. And Kian gonna make him do it. His last card is Space Main Line, and there you have it. Robbie Calhoun, 2-1, defeats Kian Dai, gets there with 4 minutes on the clock, and 11-3 Robbie, the best breakered X1 player, he's hoping that's going to be enough to put him into top 8.
Second time we've had it on camera, and that was a long 3-game set. Robbie was able to finish in time, and he was able to finish in time before. You look at his record right now, going to 11-3, no draws in this tournament. He's played at a very crisp pace, and that's so important if you're going to play a deck like Esper Dragons, which, if you're not the fastest player, can result in some draws over the course of the tournament.
Now for Kian Dai, this is his 3rd loss. He does have a draw, but not mathematically eliminated, actually. He has great breakers for a player with 1 draw, and with a win, he still might be able to join Robbie Calhoun in a top 8.
Yeah, it's, we don't have a